agenda items only, as we've been doing lately. Anybody has anything to say, you don't have to wait for it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sally Dorsch, so I'm gonna...
Hi, Sally.
Hi, Joe. I'm gonna talk about a couple of different things. So I will wear my chamber hat first. So the next upcoming meeting for the community and for our business will be on February 19th. This is gonna be at 6 o'clock at Hacienda. This is for small business check-in and for anyone that may also be interested in being on a committee. So one of the things that we found out with the chamber is that we're looking for committees at this point. Anyone that would be interested in doing anything that may help our community. So if you are, please come on it down to Hacienda on the 19th. We would love to see you. Another thing that's going on, who likes disco? Anybody like disco? I do. We're having disco night. That is going to be on February 15th from 7 to 11. It's $20 a person. That includes a buffet dinner. It's dancing, raffles, trivia, and on. This is going to be at the American Legion. This is actually a fundraiser for the American Legion. So if anyone's interested on that, I would, to get tickets, you could either purchase them at the door, or you can pay online at info@TOH Chamber of Commerce. And I'll leave this on one of the desks if anyone's interested.
Is there a dress code for the disco?
You need to be in disco. Okay, you need to be very, very out there. I'm going and I intend to have a really good time. The last thing that I have here, so everybody knows that disaster preparedness is dear to my heart. During the flood, I was a big part of Sacred Heart. I actually, with a team of people, we ran a Sacred Heart, and it was a community event for the town of Highlands. So, with doing that, Olga Anderson and myself worked hard to get it's a disaster preparedness class. It's on February 21st at the Senior Center. And what you get after this presentation, it covers everything. It covers A through Z. What you get after the presentation is a preparedness bag. And in that, there's a whole bunch of really cool things that everybody should have in their home, just in case you need to pick up something and run. So I highly recommend as many of us go to this as possible. And that is it for me tonight. Any questions?
Anyone? No? Okay, come on.
Sally, is that a flyer for the event?
Yes.
Why don't you leave it, we can put it in the town hall bulletin board, and then we'll make sure it's on pages and stuff. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Anyone else? And public comment on anything?
Well, I guess I could.
I guess you could. Come on up.
Yes. Thank you, Sally, for bringing up that disaster preparedness. It's a very good workshop. You have to register in advance so they can be sure that they have enough supplies for everybody, so be sure to do that. But what I wanted to talk about is the Environmental Committee is working on a new program to collect plastic bags. People still get plastic, whether you get your groceries in a plastic bag or not. You might get your vegetables in a plastic bag. You have plastic wrap around toilet paper rolls that you buy, around paper towels that you buy. There's plastic bagging everywhere. So we have made an arrangement with Trex, which is the company that makes the recycled plastic deck material. And so they have sent us 3 bins, which are now in place there's one downstairs here in Town Hall, there's one at my town, and there's one up at the DPW office on Route 9W. So please, I encourage everybody to save your plastic bags, bundle them up, bring them in, and Once we collect 1,000 pounds, which is not going to be easy with plastic bags that, weigh anything. So anyway, if we get 1,000 pounds to send to Trex, the town of Highlands will get a free park bench. So I encourage everybody to save your bags and drop them off at these 3 places.
Get any plastic wrapping.
Any plastic wrapping. The signs on the bins would describe what really is acceptable.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olga.
Thank you, Olga.
Anyone else that would like to join us in public comment? We're open to anything. Okay, then we'll carry on. Gary, you got nothing?
Nothing on public comment.
No.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I have the previous minutes of our meeting on January the 9th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Communications. I received a letter from Ag and Markets, which is a warning letter, saying that for all these different reasons, we need to have a dog pound, which they're aware that our dog pound was wiped out in the storm. And what I did is I sent an update on the progress, a picture of what they've got done down there. And I got a call back from them, from a Joyce Amels, who is the Animal Health Inspector number 2. She says, we know what you're doing. We were required to send a letter out, and don't worry about it. We're okay. But I just wanted to get that into the minutes, that we got the letter and we're taking care of it. Okay, I transferred $61,724 from the consolidated account to the paying account to cover this week's check run, which is the 27th of January run. Big items are Rockland County solid waste, $31,724. Cargill Incorporated for de-icer, salt and fuel, $7,388. Ham Enterprises sewer plant well pump service, $4,630. Beacon Recycling for single stream recycling for December 2024 was $3,890. And Denali for sampling and analysis in November and December of our sewer sludge. And that was $2,827. Then we had another check run on the 27th of January. The larger items are the Town of Highlands Employee Association clothing allowance, $4,590. American Tower Corporation, which is the Putnam Tower rent, $1,869. Town of Highlands Ambulance Corps for U.S. MAPS coverage for January of 2025, $700. I'll skip the next one. And the medical gas people for oxygen tanks and refill rentals, $477. The next one that I skipped, we don't need that in the report. I'd rather just keep that personal. Although it's on everybody's agenda out there, so it's no secret. Board liaison reports. Councilman Nancy.
Yes, thank you.
That's a woman, Nancy.
Yes, Councilman, we're fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to everyone at home. I did not have any new liaison reports since last time. There's a little update for the ambulance corps, though. The ambulance corps had an inspection, Department of Health inspection on the 23rd of January that they passed. There were a couple of items that they have to be corrected, some items in their standard operating procedures that they're working on. They have a deadline of the 31st, which they're on track to get some minor things that will be corrected by then. Things like camera systems in each unit and badges and things like that. So relatively minor, but otherwise they passed their DOH inspection, which is good news. Rich is going to talk about, he was at zoning board last week, and I was not, so he's going to cover that for me, so thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
So the only other report that I have tonight is not anything, has to do with my other hat, which is tax preparation. So you all remember the flood of July of 2023, and then last year, this time, I was talking about you might have some tax breaks for disaster-related casualty losses. So what happened at that time was it was not as great as it could have been. It doesn't make anybody whole, but some folks were able to take advantage of it, but you had to be able to itemize deductions and do things like that. The Federal Disaster Tax Relief Act of 2023 was signed in December of 2024. And what it did, the biggest thing for us, is that it made every federally declared disaster a qualified disaster. So there were some lower hurdles to cross for a qualified disaster than there were for just a federally declared disaster. So now, retroactive to everything from 2020, as long as it had the FEMA designation, which we have, it's considered a qualified disaster, which means that, I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. Disaster-related personal casualty losses, including the elimination of the requirement that casualty losses must exceed 10% of an individual's adjusted gross income before they're deductible. And normally only the portion that exceeded 10% of that adjusted gross income, which is basically your income, like on a tax return, can qualify for that deduction. With this new legislation, the AGI threshold is eliminated, and each separate casualty is deductible once it exceeds a more modest $500 floor. So this is to tell you to go to your tax preparers should be aware of this, but if you go to the IRS, they were absolutely of no help whatsoever. So this came from updates that most preparers will have seen, will be aware of this, but just what it takes is you'll go back to your 2023 return, and you'll amend that to reflect those lower thresholds. I have the article, I gave it to Kelly, it'll be on the town website. I'll send it over to the village as well. If you have any specific questions, refer to that article, but you can get me, I have an address on the Town Highlands website if there's anything that I can advise you on. And I think that's it for me. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman DeWitt.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Hello, everybody. Hello at home. While we're on the topic of disaster, Nancy and I attended the New York Citizens Preparedness Training Program out at the Orange County Emergency Service Center in Goshen last week, and it was a really interesting program. Again, Sally just talked about it earlier. That same program, again, is coming to Highland Falls on February 26th, and there will be signups, and hopefully we get a lot of people in the community to show up. There was a lot of solid information.
It was really, it was great.
It was really...
That's the 21st.
21st, I'm sorry. Again, February 21st, and that's going to be here in Highland Falls. And again, we will have notifications and reminders out again on our forum here, but definitely, it was a real eye-opener. Good things to prepare yourself for, Well, Indian Point's going away. That's one less thing we have to think about, hopefully. But any other issues like you've seen with the wildfires, it's just good things to be prepared to run out the door or to be locked into your house for a week or 10 days, to be prepared and how to be prepared. The two people that led the program were Captain Kyle Kilner and Master Sergeant Jennifer, I'm going to massacre her last name, Kaoli. They're both residents of Highland Falls, and so during the program, Highland Falls and the flood was referenced a lot, so it's good to know that, even in reference, we are on the radars here in the county. And after the program, Orange County Executive Steve Newhouse took the entire group that was there and stayed on a tour of this facility, which I'm embarrassed to say I didn't realize the extent of how advanced and well Orange County is in their emergency center. It's the 9/11 call center and all their other emergency services. It was a really interesting program. Really glad we got to go. And things that we're learning from that, things that we'll be doing with our own disaster preparedness program that was started, by Ty and other people, Sally Dorsch, Olga Anderson's been a big effort in this. We are working on upgrading our disaster planning. And of course, nothing is simple for the government. We know we went through pre-paperwork that we have to submit, but we're working on getting our own program solidified on paper. And even like you said, when you look back on our performance in the flood, our community, the quick action of so many people in our departments and people in our community that just stepped up and helped out, we really excelled in coming together as a community and getting through, what happened that day. So, but we'll be even better prepared. We're going to learn from that and take it the step that it needs to be taken to after that. On a more fun note, politically, we attended, thank you, Sally, for tipping me off to Assemblyman Eakes's swearing in. Happened up in Cornwall this weekend. Again, another face I got to know, and a lot of us got to know from July 9th, who he and Skoufis, Senator Skoufis especially, were here. And again, we are on their radar. They were here helping, lifting a hand helping. There was government help that came to them, but they were here in person also helping. And so it was really good to see Chris, who won by a good landslide. What was it? He won by, and the first time it was, 8 votes, so deservedly so. We're glad to see him get sworn in. I get that, did that. Regarding Channel 23, I know everybody's wondering why it just never seems to get better, but Spectrum has been, they've had a crew of techs that have been working very hard on trying to get it up to where it is. Believe it or not, our antiquated equipment is holding on pretty solid. They're having some issues with the fiber links. They think with the cold weather, possibly water, freezing, all that affects, digital technology can be a lot more finicky than the old school analog technology. But when it works, it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. But I can't shout it enough to our own Lisa Bora and Gene Tallman, who do a lot of the legwork with Spectrum, of course, and Supervisor Livesey, to keep everybody on their toes and work with Spectrum to keep Channel 23 alive. But thank you to all that, and let's hope we're still working on it to make it better. Sally spoke about the Chamber of Commerce. I got to attend the last meeting. Again, they are really making great strides in unifying the town, village, West Point, local businesses, growing awareness, creating events. Again, I urge everybody to come join the Chamber, because community involvement is just as important as business involvement. And like I said, Sally, the next meeting's coming up at the Hacienda on what date again?
The 20th, that one was on,
19th.
19th, okay, February 19th at Hacienda. Come see, and if, again, bring your ideas to the table. You're talking about a committee that has their ears wide open and wants people's constructive input. It's very much welcome, and really glad to see them giving this a big effort.
So we
Yes.
actually encourage our community to come out. So people may have some great ideas out there that can do wonders for our community.
Okay,
So we encourage anyone and everyone to come.
come on up.
That's it.
You got it. Again, Olga spoke extensively about Earth Day, so I won't get into it, but again, keep that date Saturday. Huh?
I didn't talk about it.
No, he talked, no,
Oh, you didn't, I'm sorry.
plastic recycling.
Well, Richie, I don't know if I'm stepping on your Earth
Not
Day.
stepping on anything.
Okay, just again, there's going to be a lot more Earth Days coming up. So keep Saturday, April 26th on your calendars open. Of course, as more programs get arranged, there'll be more announcements made. But things that you will see, the Repair Cafe is coming back. Let's see, the Repair Cafe, other events, Earth Day celebration. There are going to be events at the library. And it's a joint effort by, and Olga, correct me, it's again the Citizens Environmental Advisory Committee, the Highland Falls Library, the Garden Club, and the Chamber of Commerce all come together to pull Earth Day together. So again, keep the 26th open, and we will be doing the e-waste program. The town sets up in Lot 2. They're still working on the arrangements with the village, but we're pretty optimistic that that's going to come through. And that's a great event to get rid of your e-waste, because you can't put your e-waste out with your recyclables. This is a special, again, program that we put together so people can bring your used anything with electronics to it, bring it to, well, most likely will be on Lot 2. Again, we will be announcing it as it gets closer. Just want to announce it in the future. And finally, Dial-A-Bus will be on an abridged schedule starting Monday, February 3rd through Thursday, February 13th, operating on those days from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. There will be no bus on Friday and Monday, respectively, February 14th and 17th, respectively, due to holiday observations. So again, Dial-A-Bus on an abridged schedule, Monday, February 3rd through Thursday, February 13th. So please make a note of that, the people that use it. And after that, the 18th, it'll be back online like normal. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman King?
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. Just a few notes from me, very, very brief tonight. The first one would be, as we hear all the discussion about emergency management, just want to remind everybody, if you haven't figured out, we're in the thick of winter, and although today was a heat wave, you know, we got up to about 35, I think it was. And so, but with that said, when you're out here riding around in these extreme cold weather conditions, it's advised and wise to have some sort of emergency kit in your vehicles, like, for example, some extra water, extra blankets, and things of that nature. So God forbid if your vehicle breaks down somewhere, that you could survive until somebody comes to your aid. And so just consider those things as the temperature continues to fluctuate between below zero and then at a high of somewhere mid-30s. So that's winter time. Secondly, ice during this time of year, right? So I know my colleague is going to talk about something great that occurred the past weekend, but I was just from the safety standpoint say that we have to consider the fact that fluctuation also creates perception of safety when it may not be there. So that just means be careful around ice, super careful. Secondly, MLK Day was last week on Monday, and if you didn't get an opportunity to come out and see the 31st annual MLK Day March that was conducted here in the town of Highlands, then you missed a good one. We had a march from Sacred Heart Church down to St. Mark's Baptist Church, and then directly afterwards, we went into St. Mark's Baptist Church and had a ceremony, MLK Day ceremony inside the church. And normally, we would do that for the last 3 years that they put me in charge outside at the gazebo, but for whatever reason this year, I decided to keep marching passed and go to the church, and we all were glad of that because it was
Grateful
nice
for
and
that,
toasty
yes.
inside. But more importantly, the gentleman that spoke, chaplain Joseph McCall from the U.S. Army West Point, USCC, brand spanking new chaplain, did a phenomenal job. For those who were present, they can attest to that. He came in and did a great job. But even before he took the stage, we had an incredible job done by our intermediate school students, led by Principal Maldonado, who organized the young people to get involved. So this year was a little different in that respect. And in that light, we pay tribute to the founder, Mrs. Barbara Joyce Claiborne, who passed away on the 18th. And this was the first year that I know of that I've served here in the community that she was not here in body, but she was here in spirit for sure. So thanks for all the folks, particularly the Special Events Committee that helped us put that thing on. We created that Special Events Committee last year as a way to try to synergize all of our energy at each one of these special holidays. And so thank you to Ms. Dee Marino and also Ms. Avernice Reed, of the two people who were spearheading this thing in terms of our committee, and all the others that were involved. We had a plethora of those folks. In that light, we're getting ready for the next event to come up, which is Black History Month in February. This will be probably the 4th annual that we've done at the James I. O'Neill High School in collaboration with the Buffalo Soldier ROTC program there at James I. O'Neill. We thank Principal Haberman, Robin Haberman, for her support. She's already reached out to me, and I'll meet with her this week so we can start to plan how that thing is going to look. But for the last few years, it's been phenomenal. We've had a lot of good participation, and more importantly, we've had all the student body from the high school there who really enjoy that thing. So that being said, without further ado, I'll be followed by my esteemed colleague with the best memory in the town of Highlands.
Thank you very much. The Martin Luther King Day was spectacular. I'm going to quiz myself again. RCA. Remember, celebrate, and act were the words that the pastor said in regard to someone like Martin Luther King as a leader and his legacy. So my report's a little bit long. Feel free to boo me. I'm used to it. And here we go. So for the building department, the recent snowstorm resulted in 21 violations for failure to remove snow from the sidewalks in Highland Falls. Most of those violations were rectified. There were a couple of big winners, but you know what? I'm not going to tell you who they were, okay? The last meeting, I read the annual summary for the village of the town applications, permits, complaints, projects, and inspections. Thank you, Mary Jane, for publishing those numbers. Gives people perspective on the magnitude of work being done. Kelly forwarded me several county titles, which I just spent a couple of hours going over, for finding what I hope to be part-time help for Philip down the building department. As I stated at the last meeting, we've had our engineering firm provide somebody privately for the last 4 or 5 years. That has worked out handsomely. Things change in the market, and that service is no longer available from that firm, so we're going shopping. And I intend to have interviews hopefully within a week or 2. And Kelly, whether she likes it or not, is going to be part of that process. Thank you, Kelly. And in relation to the building department, just quickly, I attended the last village board meeting. Their comprehensive plan code upgrades are still ongoing, and the building department will be well prepared to implement those plans once they are finalized. On the sewer, I mentioned last meeting that the well pump down at the sewer plant, I see it's on the agenda, Bob read off the price of it. There was a branch that fell down and took out a primary wire and browned out our pump. It's not enough for an insurance claim, which I think we have a $5,000 deductible. So there's been some talk about water on Mine Dock Road. The sewer plant doesn't have it either, so we had to replace that pump because that's all we have is domestic water from a well down there. The DEC recently sent a memo requesting the annual flow data. Like everything else, that now has to be done digitally and has been. I sent a copy out to everybody before the meeting, and I think, Bob, you got a copy from Jimmy a few days ago. And so in the specifics of that, For the month of December, our average was 71,000 gallons per day of flow at the sewer plant. We had 4.7 inches of precipitation that month. For the annual flow, the average daily flow was 86,000 gallons per day, which is about 67% capacity as per our permit. Everybody knows we hired Titan Bond to review the trailer park and sewer and analyze which direction we should go. That's a little bit on hold, 100% because of this person, because I haven't had the time to forward them the data that they want. I'm working on that this week to get it to them to move that forward. Between the highway contract and a few other things, there just wasn't enough time. Parallel down at the sewer plant, FC&C is contracting, is grinding away down there in a new dog shelter. And I think that I've read off here, I think Bob said they mentioned their first requisition for payment. And I'm hoping at the sludge building before the end of this week to have the RFP ready to put out a roof for the sludge building. And of course, you know, we can't just give it to anybody. There's a contractor working down there. If the price is right, that's great. If not, we'll get the 3 prices as required by our procurement policy and get that done. Water. VRI is doing all things they're supposed to be doing. I had Kelly get an old-fashioned circular thermometer to put in the water building at Corbin Hill so that VRI and other users of the camera can see the temperature in the building remotely. With this cold, makes you a bit nervous to mix water in the cold. The cameras were dormant. Thank you, Kelly, Tiffany, and Patrick from New Windsor IT for getting them operational. We had a spike in water use over the weekend. We know where to look, and I called the representative of that user to make them aware today. We are in pursuit of the reason. And last Friday, Bob called me to tell me he was notified by the tenant of a building on 9W that their water wasn't functioning. In 5 minutes, I called Kelly for a look at the inventory, determined that this building had a well, wasn't tied on to water. Our DPW superintendent, Greg Marr, had other anecdotal data to present. 10 minutes after the phone call, it was done. The person knew that they had a well and they had to pursue it themselves. So that's, all these things we're doing with diamond maps and everything else are working very well. Highway, it snowed into Martin Luther King Day, yet in both the town and village, by the time the march for MLK and service happened, the roads and parking were clear. They had a few mechanical setbacks during the storm, but they are back in fighting shape, ready for the next weather event. I have a little bit more on the highway in another part of this report coming up. I haven't booed yet, so I'm gonna keep on going. The Zoning Board of Appeals, and Nancy is the liaison. She's a good liaison. I know she has some scheduling conflicts sometimes, and I like to go anyway because I'm a geek. And went to the meeting on the 15th after I went to the chamber meeting over at Delisia's, and it was their reorganization meeting. At that meeting, they did not choose a chairman or an attorney. They will meet again the 3rd Wednesday in February to finish up the reorganization, and there are no applications before them at the moment. The planning board did not meet. I didn't see the village meeting. Harvey Green was up for reappointment. I hope they reappointed him. I'm sure that they probably did, but I don't know that for a fact.
They did.
They did? Okay, all right. Garrison Pond, near and dear to my heart. The stars aligned, as did the planets, literally, on January 25th for Garrison Pond to be the venue for a skating party last Friday night. With weather pattern changes and bureaucratic challenges, it is increasingly difficult to get skaters out onto that lake. In my lifetime, there have only been the last 2 years where no skating happened due to the weather being too warm. And along with sufficient ice, you have the swan factor. They return regularly to check for puddles in open water. Having the swans on the ice, which are there frequently, even when it's frozen solid, with humans is not a good mix, so that aligned also. Huge thanks to Greg Marr and Matt Beal of both the DPW and the Fort Montgomery Fire Department. Huge thanks to the PBA and Brandon Hill, and I think your other officer was Giovanni. Did I have the name right? Was there? There might have been other ones. Those are the two that I met. Of the PBA and the Town of Highlands Police. Huge thank you to Chief Burns for helping to coordinate, and of course Town of Highlands Ambulance Corps as well. I emailed Jeff Gathers my appreciation. There were chairs, hot drinks, hot food, and I could only stay till 5:45 because I had a prior engagement, and it was just so pleasing to see that magical lake offer a good time for the community. All right, I have just about 5 more minutes, and if you don't boo me, I'll finish up. The library. I was doing a Doodletown project using facilities at the library, and thank Director Stacy Falk for sending me the following updates, which I asked her for. A new art exhibit by a local designer featuring signature pieces will be going up soon and will be on display through February 25th. We have a few good spots left in our winter sewing class for kids. Takes place on Thursday afternoons. Please call the library to sign up. February 1st is National Stitch in Public Day. Stop by to watch and learn as various needlepoint techniques are used to create beautiful examples, ask questions, and maybe pick up a new hobby. And starting February 1st during Take Your Child to the Library Day, and available all month while supplies last, we have the paper quilt squares available to be colored in by children and adults. Maybe I'll join in on that. And at the end of February, the pieces will be put together to create a community quilt that will be on display in the library. And stop by and check out the book on Black History or Lunar New Year. While at the library, I saw Ronnie Coffey. I'm going to allude to her in a minute, but first, it's Olga's turn. The CEAC annual report. Olga, the chairperson, emailed all of you a copy of the annual report. On that committee, there's myself, Olga, Erica Franti, the Tiffany Montalese, and Roxana Bartolome. Did I say that right? I don't have the time I wish I had to devote to that committee the way I could a few years ago. They do good work. I want to thank all of them for all the work that they did during the year. And in the report, it's pretty extensive. It was emailed out to all of you, just so I could highlight a few things. We achieved Climate Smart Communities Program Bronze certification. That's down in the window of the supervisor's office downstairs. Saw the town qualify for $80,000 in grants for clean energy to town hall through our Clean Energy Communities activities, held the first in a series of community resiliency programs, with more to come this year. And there's a couple other things in there. I'm going to ask Kelly to take that and put it on our website for people to see. If you don't have it, I will get it to you. Okay. And if Olga wants to add to any of that, be my guest. Where else am I here? So Joey mentioned Earth Day being held on, our waste cleanup day being held the 26th. Earth Day is actually the 22nd of April. I want to thank Tiffany Montalese for spearheading that. She sent out an email talking about what the county does or doesn't want us to do. They don't want it at the high school. They want it right up at that lot in the village. And once they, agree to that, that's where it's going to be held, as it usually is. Olga and I have discussed having a winter hike with the CEAC. Last weekend, I did my annual 6-mile snowshoe through Black Rock Forest, visiting local water resources, including Bog Meadow, which is not full yet. It's still down about 4 feet. And when we go on these hikes, we had a lot of people. I made a little video about Doodletown where we went over the summer. And I don't mean to be selfish using the word I had a 4th grade teacher named Shirley Kamunchuk. She was a Herbert from Doodletown, from the Herbert family. So I went up there in the video, discovered where her house was, where she was born, took everybody on a little hike up to where the Herbert mine was, and I hope to duplicate something like that, having it being interesting for people, turned it into a YouTube and sent it to everybody on the committee that I knew how to get in touch with. I think Ron got it. I don't know about David Monroe. I'm not sure if I was able to get it to him. Maybe we can have a winter hike. It would probably be on February the 16th. And this is dangerous when I say this. I'm hoping to leave the planet by black bear attack. The rest of you are on your own if you come with me, okay? So that's that. Ronnie Coffey, and then I'll be done, I promise, sent me this to read off on her announcements. First, I would like to thank those members and friends who have sent in their membership donations. We have several upcoming projects and are grateful for your support. It's never too late to renew your membership. I'm going to have this on my Facebook page. I don't know if it'll be put on the town website for people to be able to sign up for the Historical Society. It's a nice little form on the back. During January, we created and installed a display about Lady Cliff College in the new kiosk at Lady Cliff Park. One side of the kiosk will contain community news and the other is a remembrance of Lady Cliff. It consists of some vintage postcards, a short history of the college, and some 8x10 photos of college life back in the 1960s. Coming soon, excited to announce that on Saturday, March 1st, our Historical Society will present a very special lecture on the Buffalo Soldiers, noted by author Brian Shellum. Hope I said that right. This will take place at the Highland Falls Library at 12 noon. I think you should read that part right there. Right there.
This part.
Yep.
Brian Shellum is an author and historian who writes about African American and military history. He retired in 2015 as a senior intelligence officer with the Department of Defense. Prior to that, he served as a government historian at the Defense Intelligence Agency, better known as DIA, for 12 years. He retired from the U.S. Army after service as an armor officer and West European Foreign Area Specialist. He has authored 4 books: Black Cadet in a White Bastion, Bastion, Charles Young at West Point, 2006, Black Officer in the Buffalo Soldier Regiment, The Military Career of Charles Young, African American Officers in Liberia, and how to say that? Pestiferious rotation.
That's why I had you read it, but go ahead.
Yeah, that was a setup. A pestiferious rotation from 1910 to 1942, and Buffalo Soldiers in Alaska. Now, that's the first. I didn't know that. Company L, 24th Infantry Regiment. I was in the 24th Infantry Regiment.
Thank you so much, Ty. So that's everything. And again, that date is Saturday, March 1st at 12 noon at the Highland Falls Library. Thank you for not booing me. That's it.
You can't boo Rich. He's the one who volunteered to walk out on Garrison Pond. I heard from, I think it was from Matty Beal, said you're the one that went out there to make sure the ice was safe.
I'd like to make a little side note on that. It's getting very difficult to make these things happen. I grew up on that lake. I know ice pretty well. And now we have the swans that come there. They weren't there today, but they'll probably come in tomorrow. They see a little puddle. And if they're on the ice, we can't have humans interacting with them. So it's becoming increasingly difficult. Garrison Lake is the perfect lake. It freezes uniformly when it's cold enough and whatnot. And not to like bring up any bad memories, but on December 5th, 1971, down at Brooks's Lake, a very dear friend of mine drowned. So it can happen, and we're cognizant of that. Garrison Pond now has a red flag up. Everybody had a nice community event. We're all safe, and if it gets really cold again in the future, we'll see what happens. But thank you, John.
You're Rich.
Gentlemen, lady, thank you very much. Chief, do you have anything? Nothing, huh? Okay. I did notice, though, your February, what do you call it, the...
Schedule?
Officer schedule, yeah. You got a nice full schedule there, but no problems.
2 months in a row.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good job, Chief.
Chief.
Justin, did you have anything?
No, sir.
Along with the e-waste, and Tiffany, she's also trying with the county to coordinate a household hazardous waste event in the town of Highlands. We've never had one here, and whenever there is an event like that, we have to run out to Goshen, to the landfill out there. So I hope it works out, because little things like that we deserve. All right, attorney's comments. The e-waste event, I think that's been bantered back and forth enough. At our last meeting, we forgot to approve the holiday schedule for the town employees, with the exception of the unions. I need a motion to approve the holiday schedule.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilmember Spaulding?
Aye.
Supervisor Lipscomb?
Aye. Justin, I know you sent a resolution for the next thing, but it's down sitting on my desk.
Sure.
So if you would handle the whole thing there, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Some years ago, you passed your employee handbook, and that was in 2019. Since then, occasionally, there's reason to update a provision. In this case, you are reviewing it under the section holidays, the holiday pay requirement. It used to be that to receive holiday pay, someone had to work the day before the holiday and the day after the holiday, and the suggested change would be that in the event the employee is sick on the scheduled workday before and/or on the scheduled workday after a designated holiday, the employee will be paid for the holiday if the employee provides medical verification of the illness.
Okay. What brought that on, we have a young lady in the town hall here that had surgery, and she couldn't come to work, and therefore, since she couldn't come to work, she lost the holiday because she was out of work on sick the day before. It's not exactly the way things should work. Just recently again, she came to work with a cold similar to what I've got right now. And
Spray him with some
the only
Clorox.
the only reason she came to work was because she didn't want to lose the holiday. That's not the way this should work, and I saw a fault in it, and I proposed to Justin and to Kelly that we had to change that. So now, if they're rightfully sick and they don't want to lose a holiday, they do have to get a doctor's note for us, which I think is the right way to go. So I'll ask for a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilmember Spaulding?
Aye.
Supervisor Lipscomb?
Aye. Again, with, back in the years of COVID, and I know that's not all done with, there's still some COVID out there and other things, what have you, but we came up with a policy, I can't even call it a policy, it wasn't a written policy, it was an unwritten policy, that if someone had to stay home for medical reasons, they could work from home, providing they had a telephone and they had a computer that they could connect with the town, what have you. Well, I'm not sure that we want to pay people to work from home. And I've noticed that there have been a few different reasons why people were working from home, which I don't understand. I don't completely agree with their reasons. The town employees, the highway department, everybody, well, I just read the holiday schedule off. I think there's 14 holidays there. Everybody's got personal time coming to them, everybody's got sick time coming, and everybody's got vacation time. So this working from home was okay during COVID, but I don't believe that we should have any policy whatsoever on working from home, nor do we have a policy right now for working from home. I worked with Justin on this, as I promised the town board I would, and he gave me 3 different options, and I said, Justin, the last one you gave me is the one that I think we should go with, and that is, there is no working from home, period. That's it. So I'm going to ask the board to approve. I'm trying to stay away from the policy word.
Yeah, you're just confirming the fact that your existing handbook does not permit working from home.
And I'd like, if the board agrees, I'd like Kelly to notify all the department heads. So, do I have a motion?
Okay, so one question.
Sure.
Like, how are we addressing like weather-related travel, if there's a snowstorm or?
So you have that exists in your handbook, right? For emergency reasons, most often weather, but there could be some other circumstance. This board can make a determination and advise their employees, right? And then it goes into the details of whether we're closing halfway through the day and how they're paid, and if it's a full day off and how they're paid, but that all exists in the handbook, but it's for specific emergency reasons authorized by the supervisor and/or the board.
And I sleep with the handbook, so I should know that.
I don't mean it that way, it's just that those circumstances are covered.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second it, and a little bit of discussion after the second one.
Okay, seconded.
No, we had an executive, and we spoke about it a little bit and whatnot. I don't want people to think we don't have a heart. It became clear that it was very difficult to implement this uniformly. Some departments have different situations and whatnot, but here's word I again. I work construction all my life. I've never had a paid sick day in my life. I get holidays, I only get, I think it's 12 of them a year, not 15 of them. So they have beautiful benefits for them, especially the unionized employees, and that's great that they have all that stuff. I mean, you could tally it up. I won't give the total number to alarm anybody, but there are people that you could basically have 2 months off a year if you were ill or get sick or something like that. That is beautiful. So because of the fact it's so difficult to implement this uniformly, I'm going to go along with the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Fine. While I'm thinking about it, well, we just passed on holiday pay. That's in the employee handbook, not in the union contract. So that would not be going to the union contract,
Correct.
okay? And that would be the same thing with this one, this here, although that's also not in the union contract, but working from home is also not in there. So it's not in ours and it's not in theirs. So just want to make that point. This monster called Facebook, just sometimes I read things in Facebook, and I do read. I don't participate, I don't like, and I don't comment, but I do read it. And sometimes things get way out of whack. We have a situation right now, and Richie, you can jump in whenever you want here. The Park Restaurant is trying to open. They were going to try to open in December. I think they even advertised that they were opening up in December, and everybody was excited supposedly about it and what have you. Well, our building department, our building inspector, is not holding them back. After the place has been closed for over a year, we discovered that there is no fire suppression in the ceiling. So when they took some tiles down to replace them, he happened to be there on that day or that week or whatever it was, and he could see the floorboards of the apartment above. Can't do that. You just can't do it. And the tiles that we're going to replace them with were plastic tiles. So he notified them that they had to get an architect to design the proper way of doing the ceilings. Well, they meaning Association of Graduates, seem to think that there's no way to do it. Well, there is a way to do it, and it's not necessarily expensive, but there is a way to do it. They just need an architect to come in, and they also claim that they can't find an architect. They've seen 5 or 6 architects and nobody wants to sign off on it. So I have a problem believing that. I'm not calling them liars. I have a problem believing that. We are not holding back the Park Restaurant. We are not. And we're just trying to do things that are supposed to be done. The village regulations say that there has to be a 2-hour fire suppression between the ceiling and the apartment above. That it's in the code. It's in the New York State code. There's nothing that we're doing wrong other than protecting people that will be living in the building. Richie?
I'm going to be careful. As far as the Village of Highland Falls goes, so the building department is charged with the task at the town-run level of enforcing the code, which, despite what people might say, is done pretty darn well, I have to say, okay? 730 violations last year, I think it was, 730 projects, whatever it was, just in the Village of Highland Falls. There's a lot of work to do up there, and there was help with fire inspections and whatnot. We increased the fire fees at the last meeting, if I'm not mistaken. A little bit amount, not to be the most in the county. So back on track. I've met with the AOG at their request for the last 2 years. Why? Because I'm willing to share my knowledge. Ty likes to refer to me as a Discovery Channel guy or whatever about these things that I happen to know that are anecdotes from living here. I know a lot about the building code, water, the whole thing, because I've lived through all of it for the most part. So they were interested in who the players are, what zoning is, what you can and can't do where, and as best I could, I went through all that with them for a couple of years. I was invited up there about 5 times, okay? Not trying to step on anybody's toes, just to be informative. I was invited up there not long after this surfaced, not just on Facebook, but 2 months ago up there. And so I went up there and I met with them. I'm not going to discuss the whole details of the meeting. It was this, and they were a little bit upset about it. So something that happens at the village meetings, and I don't want it to happen here, and not find fault with the village, is the understanding of magnitude of something. So you say, wow, that whole ceiling and whatnot, is it 100 grand? Is it 2 years worth of work? What's going on here? So in short, I want to say the magnitude is probably a week or 2 worth of work, and I'm not going to assign a number to it except to say I don't believe it's anywhere near $20,000. They own the building and they have a tenant. And I think there may have been a little bit going on between the owner and tenant type thing. And at the meeting, before I met with the AOG 2 months ago, I had the village code in front of me. It's right there. I think it's 122 in their code, and I read off the fire code. And it talks about having a 2-hour separation. Now, when people talk about favoritism, I went in for a cup of coffee up here where the smoke shop used to be, and now it's I call them choke and pukes. It's a deli up there. It's not a choke. I recommend going there. They have good coffee. And I looked at the ceiling when I was there, because when that was in the hands of a realtor, there was a complaint at a village meeting about the building department holding that building up. They were required to put in the fire separation because there's people living above that 100-year-old space, and so it was done. And I don't have a list of all of them in front of me. I think there's a total of 13 other buildings that have been subjected to this on Main Street. At what level, I don't know. So, Philip's a good guy. He's not making me any younger being his liaison, I can tell you that, because you have the whole challenge of the politics being involved. Village looks like crap because Richie Sullivan's letting it go to hell and whatnot. He does a good job. He was the best candidate in Orange County. We got him. He works at a very reasonable price. We're going to get him some help, and I'm going to stand by him, and I hope the AOG or whoever else is involved is willing to work with him, because it would be done now if they would. And that's my summary.
Okay, I just want to read from a letter that he sent to the landlord, let's call it. On December the 6th, the building department wrote an advisory notice to the owners of 451 Main Street with reading as follows. Issues observed. I observed no fire separation between the business area ceiling and the residential area's floor system. Action required. Have a New York State certified design professional submit stamped plans for a 2-hour fire separation and obtain a building permit from the building department to complete your project. How much clearer can you be than that? And it's not him holding them up. This is December the 6th. They knew what they had to do. Anyway.
Well, thank you for touching upon that, and just, I said something before. It's the village's code that's being changed, but the town's involved, because we implemented. So this thing about a dwelling unit, which is dimensionless, being required to have 2,500, 1,250 square feet. I go to enough village meetings, I can tell you, the people in the audience do not understand it, okay? I think they almost need, and now they have it down to 0. When I took math in school, division by 0 is nonsense, it doesn't work. So I'm not sure what they're gonna do with it. I think it's stalemate at the moment. I really think they need an audio-visual presentation with graphics and a pop-up and what's gonna happen here and what's it gonna be built out. And I hope that that happens, because I believe in the village of Highland Falls, and it hurts me to watch it just all be stalemated by the process. And that's my comment.
Anyway, I have a meeting tomorrow with the mayor. I've already asked Richie to go, but if anyone else would like to go on the board, Richie is willing to step down. 3 of us can't go because it would be a quorum.
No problem on my end if someone else wants to go, so,
All right, Richie, you're ready.
okay? I had nothing better to do.
Public comment on anything again. Public comment. Anybody, anything. Mr. Scott.
Just a question.
I know who you are. Tell everybody else.
I'm Annie Scott from Fort Montgomery.
Thank you.
So on the lake, years ago, when the red flag was up, if the ice was on, you could skate at your own risk? Is that not something people can do now?
Let me answer that, because
Sure.
our insurance company has changed with a number of them. They flat say, no ice skating on your lakes.
Okay,
That's it, no ice skating on your lakes.
that's right.
So now, can we tell the people, well, that's the insurance company, go ahead and skate at your own risk? We're not going to tell the people that. Then that puts us liable. So we're not going to say anything other than no skating.
Gotcha.
And we did kind of make an exception for this fire department's party, which was a good thing to do.
So if the ice is 6 inches, is there a possibility of getting like a certificate of insurance for perhaps weekend skating, or, it's showing that the lake hasn't been frozen in years. It was
2
really
years.
beautiful.
It's been 2022 was the last party. So I don't
I can
want
look into that, but I feel certain our insurance company will say no. But
I'll just take it a step further, then I'm gonna shut up before my lawyer slaps me. The lake was privately owned by Smiley's grandfather or great-grandfather, the Garrisons. That's why it's called Garrison Pond. And back when I was a kid, pretty much people did what they want, but they were pretty sensible. That was before sewer. There was a lot of septics going into it. There were warm spots. It didn't always freeze in different places. And there were no swans at that time. That didn't factor into it. Winters were different. Ice was different. Even people that live up in the Great Lake, Scanadagua, I don't know how to say that word. Eric Weber moved up there, and he didn't go out there at all last year. They were used to taking their trucks out and whatnot. It's different now. And to read the ice is not completely objective. There's a little bit of subjectivity to it. So, I mean, I could show you a picture from today. There's about 6 inches of ice, the water temperature is 28 degrees, and the red flag is up for the reasons that Bob noted. We had a nice event, and he mentioned Facebook before. There's some stuff going on Facebook, why is the red flag up, who measured, et cetera, and so on. Can anybody just be happy that we had a great party? They volunteered, there was food, we got a couple of days out of it. It was 41 degrees today, it's gonna be 47 degrees on Wednesday, and the ice gets soft. And by the way, you take like Long Pond, which is a reservoir, the water level raises and lowers. If you have a sheet of ice and they take a foot out of it, you're in danger out there. So Garrison Pond is perfect, and the situation was perfect for it, and I'm comfortable, I'm not trying to be a hero. I grew up on the lake, and I like to see people out there. And putting up the red flag last night, that decision was made like last Thursday, that it was gonna go back up on Sunday night, no matter what, once the party was done. I take full acceptance. If anybody wants to be angry, let them go for it. Sure as hell put a lot of effort into having the party. I hope people appreciate it.
Well, I hope so. I just wanted to clarify,
Yeah.
because, again, you would see people still skating, the kids played hockey, so I was just...
It was great.
And then on sanitation, is on Channel 23, I mean, there's been a few changes of things that are getting picked up. You can't put plastic bags or the bottles, and they can't be in another bag. Like I have an elderly gentleman, he puts all his big water bottles in a white plastic bag. Now we have to take them out and dump them directly in the can. But a lot of people don't know that. They're getting, those messages on their garbage cans. So with all the changes, can there be like maybe a circular put out or something on Channel 23 that would hopefully alleviate?
We'll put something on there. And I can tell you, the supervisor got one of those messages because he put his cat food cans, which are in a bag, into the recycling thing, and that was a no-no. So now I got to dump them out of the bag and put anyway. Yes, we'll put a message on.
And then just to play devil's advocate, was the building department involved in any of the inspections when the park was being sold? Like, no one knew that there were, I'm just curious, like, the building was inspected.
That would be up to the
owners and
the owner and their inspector,
Gotcha, that's
correct?
Right, yeah, the municipality doesn't do an on-site
I wasn't
inspection.
sure if they had even asked,
Yeah.
to tell you.
No, any house, building, whatever it is sold, they have an inspector, the insurance company, well, not insurance, the
Private.
realtor has something.
Yeah, the owner. It's incumbent upon the owner to do their own inspections.
Anybody else? Gary?
Gary Last, 48 Row Ave, Highland Falls. It's been a while since I mentioned this, but I'll just bring it up again. So I represent the Disaster Fund Committee, one of 3 people on the committee. We still have money in the coffers. I know that we haven't had a disaster, which thank God we haven't. Let's not have one again. But if something happens or you have a life event that you think you need some financial assistance, the committee can come together and authorize up to $400 per session or per application. So there are applications, I believe June has them down in her office area. There's also applications at the library. If you fill it out, I'll get notified and we'll convene the committee and discuss it and see we can award you up to 400. I mean, you will get 400, but you can be authorized up to 400. But if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So I ask you if you do think you have a situation that qualifies, go ahead and submit the application. We'll see what we can do for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Alina Olivia, village resident. I just want to commend the board. I know it's not the first time you've heard this from me, but you are all really a very good example for the community. You're very informative, and you're always very professional. Tonight, Supervisor, you had given some suggested changes to your handbook, and you immediately followed that up with an explanation as to why you were doing that. And I really think that that's important, and I just really respect you guys. I think you're great, so that's it.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Going, gone. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion. All in favor? Aye.